Most people think stress is an unstoppable force, but here's what they're missing. It's actually really easy to handle if you know the secret. What if I told you that the way you're dealing with stress is completely wrong and making things worse? Today, we're going to dive into why managing stress doesn't need to be complicated, and I'm going to show you exactly how to make it simple. So, if you've been feeling overwhelmed, whether it's work, school, or just life piling on you, don't worry. By the end of this video, you'll have the tools to handle stress like it's no big deal. Let's get into it. We all know that feeling. Your chest tightens, your brain feels like it's racing a million miles per hour, and you're just trying to keep it together. Stress, it's everywhere. And if you've ever Googled how to reduce stress, you probably found a bunch of fluffy advice like breathe deeply or take a vacation. Sure, that's nice, but who has time for a vacation every time life gets overwhelming? And deep breaths? They help for a second, but it doesn't get to the root of the problem. Stress keeps coming back because we're trying to fix it with short-term tricks that don't last. The real issue is most of us have no idea how stress works. We treat it like it's this mysterious thing that's out of our control. But stress is actually a very predictable reaction. It's just your body saying, hey, something's up. The problem is, no one ever taught us how to respond to that signal the right way. So, let's break it down. Stress isn't your enemy, it's your body's alarm system. And like any alarm, it's not there to annoy you, it's there to alert you to something that needs attention. But here's where most people get it wrong. They hear the alarm and panic. They try to shut it off without even figuring out what's causing it in the first place. Step 1, acknowledge the stress. Sounds simple, right? But most of us try to ignore it. We push through, keep going, and then wonder why we're constantly on edge. Ignoring stress is like ignoring a fire alarm and hoping the fire goes out on its own. Spoiler, it doesn't. Now, instead of panicking, let's flip the script. What if you could use stress to your advantage? Think of it like this. Stress is energy. It's your body revving up to handle a challenge. But if you don't know how to direct that energy, it spirals out of control, making everything feel 10 times harder than it is. Let's say you have a big deadline coming up. Instead of freaking out about it, take that nervous energy and use it as fuel. Start by breaking down the task. What exactly needs to get done? Write it out, because once it's out of your head and on paper, it's not swirling around in your brain, making you more anxious. Now, focus on one small part of the task, just one. Do that, and suddenly the giant, scary thing you were stressed about feels a lot more manageable. Reducing stress is all about shifting your mindset from this is overwhelming to I can handle this one step at a time. It's a mental game, but once you start breaking it down, stress becomes way less intimidating. Here's the part where it all clicks. Stress only has power over you if you let it. You can't control the things that stress you out, whether it's work, relationships, or life in general, but you can control how you respond to it. That's where the real power lies. Think of it like this. Stress is like a river. If you fight against it, you're going to get exhausted and overwhelmed. But if you go with the flow, you can navigate it a lot easier. That doesn't mean you let stress run your life. It just means you learn to steer it in the right direction. Now, how do you steer stress in the right direction? It's actually pretty simple. Here's a 3-step formula that works every time. Recognize the stress. Stop pretending it's not there. Acknowledge it. Break it down. Ask yourself, what exactly is stressing me out? Once you know the root, you can address it. Take action. Do something, no matter how small, to tackle the stressor. The key here is action, not avoidance. The moment you start doing something, anything, that's when the stress loses its grip on you. It's like turning the volume down on that alarm. You're in control now. So, managing stress is actually easy when you know how to deal with it. Stress isn't the bad guy, it's just a signal. The real trick is learning to recognize it, break it down, and use that energy to your advantage. Instead of getting overwhelmed, you can make stress work for you. Remember, reducing stress isn't about finding quick fixes that only work for a few minutes. It's about taking control and making stress manageable in the long run. Whether it's school, work, or just life throwing curveballs your way, you have the power to handle it, one step at a time.